Hi, welcome to Dark Horse Paranormal. My name is Kristen Johnson.
And I'm Chris Carr.
This was great.
This is great. How you guys doing out there? Sorry for a little bit of a slightly late start.
It's not bad.
But we were working with our other show, The Infinite Inquisition, with Seraphine Hurley, and she had Ken Allen on tonight, who's a great friend of our show, and his podcast is called The Wizard's Table.
The Wizard's Table.
The Wizard's Table.
We have to
And
sing because that's our
You got to sing that. You got to sing that shit. And it's on Saturdays at 6:00. You can find a live stream on Facebook, and you can find the podcast wherever you find podcasts. And speaking of podcasts, we have an amazing guest tonight, a really good guy, who is the host, our co-host of the 222 Paranormal podcast, which also starts with some metal music. And we're going to talk about that.
Oh, I love it.
I love it. I'm going to bring him right on. His name is Joe Shortridge. Oops. There we go. Hey, Joe.
Who is this? Why do you keep calling me?
I love it.
How
Hey,
you doing?
guys.
What's going on? How are you? You're in Ohio?
Yes, I'm up here in Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo.
1 mile from the Michigan line. So
Wow.
I noticed you're doing a lot of stuff in Michigan. You know, my geography is terrible. We're up in New England ourselves. We're in Rhode Island and Massachusetts.
I
Kinda like
want
right
to make
on
it
the
up there
line.
one of these days.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you must.
You should. You should. You better call us. We know all the good spots.
That's what I am looking for. I want to see all the haunted spots up there. History.
We have quite a few. We have
Mm.
quite a few. But, you know, everything's haunted in a way. You do your podcast, 222 Paranormal podcast, with your sister, and I believe her name is Jen, right?
Yes.
Jen Shortridge?
And sorry she couldn't make it tonight. She is working a lot of hours, and she said she has to be up at 5 a.m. So she took the night off, and I think she's sleeping about now.
That's okay. Please tell her that we said hi and maybe another time.
Another time?
Yeah,
We-
I'll tell her you guys were yelling a lot, and
Yeah, we were really mad. Oh no, that's cool. So tell us about your podcast. I noticed when I listened to it, and I've been listening to your podcast, it also begins with a sort of like metal song. Now, is that you or
No, we have a variety of music that we use, but it's all music from a couple bands, actually 3, but one is Dead in 5, one is 60-Second Crush, and the other's Crud. And they're pretty much 60-Second Crush and Dead in 5 are pretty much the same bands with different singers.
Okay.
My best friend Dana is the bass player in all 3 of the bands, and we they call me the road manager. So basically, when we go on the road, I'm the one that's buying the beers. But
you got that job?
yeah. So when me and Jen started the podcast, we decided to use their music because, it's our friends.
Mhm.
And it's awesome music. And it pretty much, we try to match the music for the topic of the show, and they do a really good job with all the different songs that they have. So that's why we use it.
We love it.
Excellent. Yeah, it was pretty
You're
cool.
right.
And I was like, wow, all right. I haven't heard these songs before. And I mean, there are a lot of metal bands out there, but I know like with our own podcast, we do, we play some of the stuff I wrote, like 12 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's how you came across us and you're like, wow, these guys play metal. And maybe that was a connection.
Yeah.
Right on.
I have a story about that tonight. I listen to a lot of metal. I listen to like Slipknot and Mudvayne, Disturbed, Godsmack. And I was getting ready to for Chris to come pick me up because I live in Massachusetts. He lives in Rhode Island.
Okay.
So
It's close. We're on the line.
And I was putting on my makeup and I'm listening to it and I'm jamming because music is just like the thing. It's been back, since ancient times. It makes you feel good and everything. And so as out of the corner of my eye, my house was built in 1740. So there's a lot of activity in there and it's not negative. But out of the corner of my eye, as I'm putting my makeup on and stuff, I see a man And I'm like, yep, because I have 2 women in my house. I don't really see a man. And the man looked to me as if it was a colonial period man with a hat, and not like a hat man, but like he had a hat on, a brimmed hat, wide brim. And I said to Chris, he looks just like, we have the story with spider gates here in Leicester, Mass. And he looked just like the gatekeeper. That, yeah. And I'm
somebody
like,
we call the gatekeeper.
but it wasn't him. But I did engage with him and said, hold on a bit. I've got things to do, And yeah, that's
I noticed
corner of
like
my eye.
a couple of podcasts ago, you were talking about seeing things in the corner of your eye, or your guest was.
Yeah.
I told her that, and I was like, oh yeah,
We always do.
That's a thing. And sometimes you wonder about that. Like, is there something to that, or is it your eyes playing games with you?
Well, I think that it is how your brain is set up. Okay. We focus on exactly what's in front of us, and the peripheral vision is there, but in our minds, your brain is really set up to focus on dead in front of you, so that back in the day, if there were lions attacking you, that you could see where you're going to get away from them. But I feel that shadow figures, some apparitions, stuff like that, you don't really see them in your field of view, but you see them in the peripheral, because it's sort of like a fringe thing where your brain can't comprehend what that is. Okay.
Right.
There's a section in your brain called the reticulative activating system. And what that is if you tell your brain this is important, you'll see it all the time. Sort of like when you buy a white car and all of a sudden you see the same car everywhere. Well, the car's always been there.
Sure.
Or
your brain, model car. Yeah.
Yeah. Your brain doesn't recognize that, because basically humans are deletion characters. There's so much going on around us that we don't see, because our brain doesn't deem that important. Like the air conditioner turning on, the blood running through your ear, stuff like that. If we absorbed all that stuff, we'd be insane, because
it's too much information. Absolutely.
And I feel that shadow figures and stuff like that, and people that are psychic can see stuff like that. I know people that say that they can see spirit just as if they're standing in front of us, like us.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that in our brain, we haven't in-tuned ourselves to that yet. So we do see things on the fringe, but not right in front of us. So basically long-winded answer to your question, but
no, that's not a long-winded answer at all.
No, not at all. Actually, we were just talking about that.
I think that they manipulate the light a bit enough, and it was harder for them for whatever reason to manipulate the light for us to actually perceive it in the same way that they manipulate noises around us that get recorded on like your recorders, when you're doing when you're doing an EVP session and stuff. Like, so where does that vibration come from? Because sound is a vibration, right? So is light. And I think it's a manipulation of that. So I've noticed some of our EVPs are directly related to some of the environmental sounds, and they start to sound like something. And of course, the apophenia plays a role, and that's your brain at work, manipulating that data that you're hearing.
Yeah, because think about it. How we make sound, and you being a musician, that the air comes out of our lungs through our vocal cords, and we make vibrations. Spirits can't do that. So I think that they have the ability to put that in our minds, either electronically or magnetically. We don't know. And I mean, I've had so many situations where I've heard voices in rooms and the person standing right next to me didn't hear it, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Or even on our recorders.
Because I think they can actually manipulate your eardrum. Like, we had a situation once where, we've had it actually happen a couple of times, but a best case actually relates to what she was mentioning with the gatekeeper. We were at Friend Cemetery, otherwise known as Spider Gates.
It's a Quaker cemetery.
And don't go there because they don't encourage paranormal investigations.
Nobody.
We used to call it the undisclosed location.
Oh, okay.
One of several of those, but we both heard somebody go hello, like really loud.
And really
so much
long.
so that it
Hello.
scared the shit out of us.
Yeah.
Right. Like we jumped
Really?
up in the air, like literally. And I was looking around to see who had yelled it. And there was nobody there. Nobody. And it's off the road. Like you got to go down a dirt road to get to it, about a quarter mile. And there was no one there. You know, we both heard it. And here's the kicker. She had this actual Tascam, right? On, right? And it's recording with pretty much noise canceling headset on. And all she can hear is what's coming through the recorder. And we both jumped, heard it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on the recording.
And it wasn't on our other recorder either that we had playing.
Right. So what that means is that it manipulated our eardrum, you know, and not the recorder microphone, which is very similar to an eardrum.
Yeah.
Microphone. So it's fascinating. Fascinating how they can do that kind of thing.
Yeah. And here's a weird thing that happened to me is we're at the Toledo Police Museum, and, you know, we've done several investigations there. And that's kind of an interesting location. It's in a park that was always known as the park you don't go into, because there were, back in Prohibition days and all that, there were a lot of bodies found. Even up to the 70s, there were a lot of bodies found in this park. Well, lo and behold, the building that was there, they turned into a museum for the Toledo Police. And in the basement of it, when we do EVPs, we don't get nothing until we play the EVPs back through the, you know, from the recorder, and then we get responses. It's almost like the spirits can't hear us talking until they hear it electronically.
Right.
And that's the only location I've ever had that happen. But every time we go, that's how it happens. So it kind of makes you wonder, you know, do they hear electronics or do they hear the sounds, you know?
Right.
Or vice versa.
About the frequency, maybe they can feel like the vibration of it, the frequency of it, especially when you have like a spirit box.
Yeah.
That's totally different. If you just have this on, we completely understand. We're wondering if that's what, because they can manipulate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to be able to.
But we don't be able.
It's interesting. I think they're just in such a different place,
later.
and their perceptions are much different than our own.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know we're there. But tell us about your podcast. 222 podcast. Where does 222 come from?
Okay, it's a couple reasons. One, it's my sister's birthday, February 22nd. And also, it is a number that me and her have been seeing everywhere in very strange locations. You know, we travel a lot with our show, obviously, and I can't tell you how many times we go to a hotel, check in, and they give us room 222.
Come on. It's like synchronicity.
Yeah. On tour with the band, we travel all over the country with the band. There's been so many times where, like, good example, we were down in Southern Ohio at this place called Cave in the Rock, Illinois. And to get to where the band was playing, this road you go down, they were putting in new pipes or something. And there was this huge tractor that you had to stop, and they had a red light so that you go around the tractor because it was a one-way road. And big on the side of the tractor number 222, stuff like that. And people will cut you off on the road, and the trailer number on the semi is a 222, stuff like that. So when we started the podcast, we were trying to think of a name, and I'm like 222. And we looked it up as what it means in a paranormal sense. And basically it's a angelic number that tells you that you're on the right path. If you start seeing 222 a lot, that tells you you're on the right path. So it was a combination of things, and we just said, let's call it 222 Paranormal Podcast.
It's very interesting because it is 2022. And,
yes, sir.
Our friend Robert Riggy was just telling us last week. He was going on about, he said we're the personification of the number 2. And I really didn't know how to take that.
Yeah. Thanks, Robert. We love him.
I believe he meant well, and he's actually our guest on Saturday.
Yeah,
Bigfoot and the Bunny. So we're going to get more into that with Robert, but it does have a very positive meaning in numerology. There's lots of comments out here, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you just for a moment because I'm trying to follow it, and they all come up as kind of like a blur on my screen over here, and not necessarily a blur, but kind of like all lumped together. And there's something about cats going on.
I really
ghost cats.
No,
Cats used to be called
Keepers of the Dead. Yeah.
Keepers of the Dead.
The Egyptians, that was me.
Believe the cats are protectors of the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm just kind of trying to get to the bottom of this cat thing. That's a reason cats sometimes sleep at the foot of your bed, keep spirits at bay. Mm-hmm. What brought on this cat thing?
I have no idea.
Apparently, so which days a black cat was thought to be a witch. It would kill.
The witch is familiar.
Apparently, our chat has gone on to cats.
Yeah, don't do that.
And the thing is, too, I've seen so many times where people get a hold of us because their cats are staring at walls and that, or seeing spirit.
Oh, they're the best ghost hunters.
Mm-hmm. They are. I have a familiar at home that she's awesome. She's like Lassie. I was just talking about this on the last podcast on Seraphine's, but yeah, she's like, she tries to tell me things. I wish I could speak cat thought translator.
They don't teach that in high school yet.
You know, but yeah,
I want to take an extended course on catology.
I'm sorry, we didn't mean to squirrel.
You'll be a catologist.
I would love to be. I'm already a cat lady, so what the hell?
Yeah, we have lots of cats going around. Amanda Jane Norton says, my daughter rented a house, and when I ran Narla, my dog went to go in, and my dog would not move. She was terrified. Calmed her, and she bolted back. Understood why that house was overwhelming, not nice. Felt my dog's fear. Yeah, that is true. Like the animals do pick up on it like way quicker than people. You know, no question. I've got videos of my cats reacting.
Oh yes,
to spirit presence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about this too. Is we know that like dogs have hypersensitive hearing, their sense of smell is a lot better. You know, so maybe they're seeing spirits before we do.
Exactly. Yeah, like cats.
So you're from the Ohio, Michigan area, and there's a good number of great haunted locations out that way.
Yes. I'll tell you, where I live here in Toledo, Ohio, there are so many haunted locations, and I think that a lot of it has to do with the Indian mounds that are around. Mm-hmm. Because, so downtown Toledo, there was an Indian mound that they tore down. And it seems like everything around there is super haunted. One of the places right next to where the mound used to be is called the Oliver House. It was a hotel back in the 1800s that they turned into a bar and restaurant now, and it's now the Maumee Bay Brewing Company, which brews Buckeye beer. And it's supposedly true that when they were redoing the parking lot in the 80s, they came across skeletons buried underneath the parking lot, and they assume that they're Native Americans. And the story goes is that instead of telling anybody, they just covered the parking lot back up. So that could be one of the reasons why.
Unbelievable.
One of the other places here in town that is extremely haunted that I've investigated is called the Bone House, and that's like a mile from that location. And the reason we call it the Bone House is the guy bought it to renovate and resell. And when he started tearing out the walls, bones started falling out of the walls.
Come on.
So it ended up being every floorboard, every wall had bones behind them. And when he would take the boards off the wall, the bones would actually fall out. So they got a hold of the police. The police came. The news crews came. They did news stories on it. And come to find out, the house was a center hub for a religion called Santeria or Santeria.
Oh, we know about
Santeria,
that.
Yeah.
Santeria.
And
I drink sangria, so no, it's
sangria,
not that.
I was thinking
Santeria.
Totally different.
We did a podcast on that.
Different kinds of spirits.
Sangria. We put them together, and it's a real shit show.
So Toledo has a lot of haunted locations in it. One of my other favorite places is called the Collingwood Arts Center. I've had a lot of things happen there. I've had walls pushed over on me. I've seen spirits there. One of the nights I was sitting there, probably about 3 or 4 in the morning, in the main auditorium, just watching the stage, seeing visible orbs fly across the stage, blue and red orbs, and visible orbs with my own eye, and
and colors.
not the regular
It's not
orbs.
dust orbs
you
we're
know?
talking about,
Right.
right?
The dust orbs.
Yeah.
The dust orbs.
Yeah.
This is something in
Dreaded
color
things. There you go.
that you're seeing, not through an infrared lens, that you're actually
No,
seeing.
it's actually just
the
sitting
human
there
eye.
watching them float across the stage. And I've got actual, pictures of light anomalies, you want to call it, to where I was on one side of the stage taking pictures of my sister way across the other side, and there was a light anomaly in the picture. And I'm, I'm a photographer. I know what light orbs are caused by and stuff. And in this particular picture, we looked at her photos, and the orb was in her photo also. So it couldn't have been a reflection from the flash, because I was all the way across the room and she was taking a picture of the same space and got the same orb. So I would consider that visible orbs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's one of the
Absolutely.
things that happens in this location. It's called the Collingwood Art Center. Very haunted.
How do you spell it? Is it Collingwood?
Collingwood.
Oh.
Collingwood Art Center. It used to be a convent.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other things that happens is when it was a convent, the nuns would eat their breakfast on the main stage, because, there was a stage and everything there also when they were there. And every once in a while you'll smell peanut butter up on the stage.
Oh, wow.
And there's also I haven't seen her, but there's also a nun that sits in one of the chairs during the rehearsals for the plays that they put on there. And she has been seen by many people. I haven't seen her, but that's one of the stories.
Oh, it's really
fascinating.
interesting.
Yeah. They're very interesting. And it kind of proves that point that not everything paranormal is scary. It doesn't sound like this is a negative entity in any way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I know you guys are into the paranormal also, and I'm sure you get it just as much as we do. And I say, yeah, I'm a paranormal investigator. First thing I hear is, oh, you're a demon hunter, or you guys hunt demons, or you're demon worshipers. It's like, no, not at all.
We don't love the D word. I think it's overused in the paranormal and all that, so much so that we did a series of podcasts called the D word series.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
People that actually work with demons or are pretty familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're such an outside entity that I don't think they come in play in most paranormal investigations at all.
Yeah.
So we're definitely not the person to go, oh, it's a demon. We don't do that.
Yeah, no, it's more of
but
to say that the negative.
That things exist that have a negative tone to them beyond maybe even being discarnate human spirits. Yeah. I do think they exist.
Absolutely.
I know they exist, but
it's just not as prevalent as people think it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in a haunting situation. No.
Like Chris said, it's overused.
Yeah, it's totally overused. Yeah. Yeah. So when did you start your podcast?
We're in our 6th season right now. So basically 5 years ago we started. We've got 287 shows as of today.
Wow.
Good for
Congratulations.
you.
Yeah. That's a good amount.
Mm-hmm. And we actually started on July 4th weekend many moons ago. We were
really
at my sister's house.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's our anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We were having a party at Jen's house for, like a family 4th of July party. And we were like, well, we got to go down in her basement, because when we started, we recorded in her basement before we got the studio. And we're like, we're going downstairs and record a show. We'll be back in an hour.
That's great.
That's awesome. You're a brother and sister unit.
Yep.
And you guys grew up. Now, I'm assuming there must have been some kind of haunted childhood behind this.
Well, like, I was always interested in UFOs and stuff like that, and still am. Jen was more into the ghosty stuff. And when we were deciding to do a podcast, it really wasn't on the radar of doing a paranormal show. We were just like trying to think of something to do. And Jen's like, well, I'm into ghosts. You're into UFOs. Let's do a podcast. And about that same time, I had my best friend ended up being on life support. I got a call one night and said she was on life support. And I'm like, okay, well, keep me informed. I'm like, wait a minute, what? So I actually had a after-death experience with her. What happened was Okay, so let me tell you, I'll try to keep it short, but
No, it's okay. Take your time. Tell us. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
when I got the call, I wasn't expecting it. Now, she did have a double lung transplant 5 years before that.
Oh my goodness.
Double lung transplant.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
So what happens is every year she has to go to the Cleveland Clinic to get a test done. And what they do is they'll put a hose in her throat or down into her lungs, put a little fluid in, draw it out, see if there's any kind of disease or anything like that. So I got a message from her. I said, she's like, oh, Cleveland in the morning. I'm like, I know. Yeah. So that night I got a call and they said that she was on life support. So I wasn't expecting it. And so I went home, got changed, headed out to Cleveland. It's about a 2.5 hour drive from my house to Cleveland. So went out there, saw her. She was on life support, and of course, I got to work in the morning. I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I came home, went to work, got a call about midday, and they said that they were going to take her off life support in about an hour. And I knew I would never make it there on time. So I went home, got changed, started heading out to Cleveland, and I was a wreck. It's my best friend. We've been psychic friends our whole life.
Sure.
On the way there, I was a wreck. I shouldn't have been driving. I don't cry, but I was pretty close that day. So I'm driving out there, and I really don't remember the driving out there, but I got about halfway there. So about an hour into the trip, imagine if you took a heating element out of your oven when it's on and put it over your head. Okay. As if someone was taking that heating element and putting it over my head and down through my body. I felt that line of heat. And I was a blabbering idiot driving out there. I was like barely crying, all that, because my best friend, they're unplugging her. When that happened, I felt like just a whoosh of energy out my fingertips and everything. And after that, I felt the same way that I feel now. I was perfectly fine. So I get to the hospital, see her husband. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And he's like, they took her off life support about an hour ago and they don't know how she's still alive. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, you want to see her? I'm like, yeah. So I walk in the room and she's laying there, and I walk up, I grab her hand, and all of a sudden something beeped. I'm like, oh crap, I stepped on a hose. Right. When I touched her hand. Nurse comes in, she says, no, she just passed.
Good Lord.
So I think that when that feeling that I got was when they took, because they don't actually unplug a person. They just stop the medication and stop the breathing treatments and all that.
They take the tube out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's what she was feeling when they stopped the medication, that heat.
And you felt the heat.
Mm-hmm. So everybody says that she waited to pass until I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And I physically touched her hand and she passed.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's awful.
It's a longer story than what I'm saying, but that's basically it. And afterwards, when I drove home that morning, like I said, I don't even remember the trip home. It's a 2.5 hour drive and I really don't remember it. So I get home in the morning, I wake up and I go back to her mom's house because everybody's meeting there. I turn my car on and this song comes on that she used to play over and over and over. It was REO Speedwagon. That song, I heard it from a friend who, drove me insane playing that song all the time. And that song
was with
comes
you
on the radio, on a Detroit radio station that I never listened to. Since then, I've had so many dreams of her where we talk to each other in our dreams. I've had that song come on in so many different ways. Walking into a store and all of a sudden that song starts playing. Turning on the radio, just weird stuff, and a lot of communication dreams. And that's where it catapulted me into wanting to know more about ghost hunting, afterlife, what happens to us when we die, stuff like that.
Sure.
The consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like where your consciousness goes and
communication from the dead.
how does it work?
Yes.
You know, and like how does the spirit communications work?
And one of the strange things also is now she was deaf, but in our dreams, we're looking at each other, talking to each other. But one thing I noticed is she never moves her mouth. And I think that's significant in dreams that people have of their loved ones.
That's interesting. It's like, is that because of your perception or her perception of what life was?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's how do you draw that distinction?
Right.
You know,
and the first dream I had of her was 2 nights after she passed, and me being the best friend and the caring person that I am, I looked at her and said, "Last time I saw you, you were dead." And that's what I remember out of that dream. But that's the way we were with each other, you know. And since then, I've done a lot of research on communications from the dead. A lot of people get phone calls from their loved ones.
That's the thing.
You know, that was a bigger thing. No, based on my research, let me know if this is similar. A bigger thing, like maybe when we had landlines and landlines were more popular. I don't see, not that I never see, but just I don't see the frequency of phone calls from the dead, like literal phone calls, since we switched from landlines to cell phones. Have you noticed this? Or
I've had, you know, doing my research on this kind of stuff, I did notice a story of a girl that was, you know, millennial or whatever you want to say, that was always on her phone. So after she passed, they actually put her cell phone in the casket with her. And apparently her mother would be getting phone calls from that phone. And when she picked it up, she said she just sounded distant, like distant sounds. She never heard her voice, but different sounds. And she always claimed that they were distant sounds. I don't know.
Wow,
But I have heard stories of people getting phone calls from cell phones. But like you said, landlines, even landlines that were numbers that were disconnected years ago. And they're getting, you know, caller ID comes up showing that number.
Right. And I've heard cell phone stories as well.
Yeah.
It just seems like it was a bigger thing before. I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
You know, why that would be. If anything, it seems like we put a lot more energy into, you know, the little black boxes that are in our hands all the time than we did. And, you know, the landline, I'm sorry, in the living room.
Yeah.
You would think it would be the other way around. And our cell phones would be ringing constantly.
5G, more energy.
And Marianne says my mom rang my home phone when she passed. So, yeah, there you go.
I've heard stories of people that get calls from people before they pass. They know that they're lying in the hospital, and all of a sudden they get a phone call, and they hear a voice saying goodbye.
Right.
And they find out that that person passed, you know, that when they called.
Breaks my heart.
It's a thing that happens. You know, a very interesting phenomenon. Lots of people in chat. Hey, Stephen. Hey, Greg. Hey, Amanda. Just to say, give a few shout outs and hellos.
Yes.
So, yeah. What happened to you guys in your childhood that brought you to becoming paranormal researchers?
I really don't think it was anything to do with our childhood. I think it was more of, you know, curiosity. And like I said, I was always interested in UFOs.
I mean, sorry, I know you just mentioned your friend that was sick and passed, but was there something between your sister and you that
no, not really. I don't think so.
Anything or
now my sister does live in a haunted house now, and she's lived there for about 7 or 8 years. She has things that happen to her all the time, and we have things that happen here in the studio too to us, but I know that she definitely has a haunted house. She's seen her neighbor that passed away. She woke up one night and her neighbor was standing next to her.
Oh boy. That's quite scary when that happens.
She says that she looked up and didn't say anything to her and just rolled back over. And she's like, why did I do that? But you don't know what's going to happen when stuff like that happens to you.
Right. You don't want to engage, and you do. Yeah, I understand that completely.
Is one of the two you more intuitive than the other? Or
I think Jen is. I think I'm intuitive as a rock, but I think she is. She says that she is empathic, but yeah, I mean, we all have that ability in us. I don't think I can bring it out. I don't know, but I mean, we've had things happen here in the studio where we had people listen to our show and they call us or message us and say that they've heard EVPs during the show.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep. We've had
One of
that
the
a-
instances we were doing,
It's pretty
the
strange, right?
yeah, one of the instances that we've had, we were doing a story about the Greenbrier Ghost, which is a ghost that is the only ghost in history that we know of that has actually proven her case in a court of law. And she
Oh.
did that through dreams to her mother and told her mother about her murder. And they actually convicted the guy because of what her mother was saying that she got from the dreams.
Really? And
That
what
is-
state was it? Was that in Ohio?
No, I don't remember where it was actually.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but-
Paranormal
yeah, look
usually
it up.
does not play a role in court cases.
It's the Greenbrier Ghost.
Greenbrier.
And
We're going to look into that.
during that show, we were signing off, and at the end, my sister has a boutique, and I was saying, get up online and check out Jen's Poshmark page. And Jen's like, yeah, come get on my. And while she was saying that, all of a sudden in my track, in my microphone, we heard a woman screaming.
Oh,
and
wow.
we have it on. I didn't have it. I'll send it to you after we do the show. But it came over on my track, didn't come over on hers, but we both heard it in our headsets, and it came through on the show. So you can clearly hear a woman screaming.
Wow.
Stuff like that. Another thing that happened to us, you can't see it here, but on the other side of the table, we've got the hallway out to the art gallery. And then we have a sitting area out there. And I'm looking, and all of a sudden I see a blue light go past. I'm like, I just saw a blue light. And we're done with our show. So Jen jumps up, grabs the SB7 spirit box, grabs her phone to record, and she says, we want to know if you know who lives here. And clear as day, and I'll send this to you after the show. I should have had it ready for you so you listen.
Thank you.
But clear as day, you can hear Jackie's voice going, "Hey, Joe," and it is her voice. So I'll send that to you, and if you want to post it, you can. But
yeah, I'd love
thank
to.
you.
I'd
We'd
love
love
to hear
to.
that.
Sure.
And
we have things
all right,
happen to us
I
all the
should have
time.
asked you to see if you.
Yeah, I
want
didn't think about it.
post it,
That's how professional I am. I should have had it ready.
Oh, us too. Well, there you go.
we're in the same boat, but I
Yeah.
could have played the clips or any video or anything you wanted. I meant to do that, but I've been pretty busy this week, so I apologize.
Now, you said her name
That's
was
fine.
Jackie. Is that the girl, your best friend?
Yeah, that was my best friend that passed away.
Best friend passed away. Okay.
Mhm.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
And I actually played. Now, like I said, she was deaf, but she had cochlear implants. So when she talked, it sounded normal. It didn't sound, And I got a hold of her mom, and I'm like, "Hey, I want to play you something." And she's like, "Okay." So I played it for her. Didn't tell her what it was or that. And she's like, "Oh my God, that's Jackie."
oh, wow.
And so it's in,
Her
the
voice.
paranormal investigation, we call it a Class A EVP. This is like a Class A plus EVP.
Yeah, no, those
Yeah.
Class A's are nice to come by. Absolutely. There's a lot of chat out there. I want to mention some of that. Anne-Marie Young says nobody was there, but it was her, and I think she's referring to something.
Her
she
mom
posted
called her
before.
when
Yeah, her mom
she
calling her.
passed away.
I turned around and I told my kids and husband it was my mom. She's gone.
Mhm.
Then my
Sorry, Ann.
I
Understand.
called and told us. Stephen says, guys, I want to let you know that Courtney Peterson is battling an illness.
Yes.
She's usually on here and hosting the chats. So yeah, prayers to Courtney.
Courtney,
Please
she's
feel
been feeling
better.
for a little while. We love you, girl.
Yeah, she's been battling that for quite a bit. So what else we got here?
Well, the Greenbrier Ghost.
Debbie says, to make a long story short, my daughter and I bought a rose bush together. We both planted it together, and when my daughter passed 2 years ago, the rose bush died. I was devastated. One morning, 2 weeks later, I went out and the bush was blooming. The night before, it was completely dead.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Debbie. Sorry
I'm sorry.
we went through that. But good to hear it bloomed again. And I think that's a good sign.
It is.
So Steve White says original story of the Greenbrier Ghost took place in West Virginia in Greenbrier County.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I remember.
Well, you know what's interesting is like you do hear ghost stories kind of repeated through the country. Like how many women in white are there?
Yeah.
Little children.
How many little girls are there?
You know, you have a theory that, maybe they take roles. These roles are, I don't know, somehow easier from them to communicate to us.
Yeah. And they could also be coming and looking like that so that we can either comprehend what they look like and also it's not scary.
Right. Right. There are often soft things like children in cemeteries, of which we've encountered, and I'm sure you have encountered plenty of times. Like, why would they be caught in a cemetery? Why would
why would they stay there?
Living person that died and was buried in a cemetery want to hang around the cemetery?
Why
it
are they
doesn't
earthbound?
Make logical sense, right?
Was it trauma and they can't pass? They don't know how to pass?
Maybe it's the last place where people celebrated them or gave them a certain energy, thinking about them, thought energy.
I mean, you think about there's 3 types of death. First is the physical death. Second is the spiritual death when the soul leaves the body. And also the third death is the last time someone speaks their name. So maybe they're at the cemetery because people are reading their names off the gravestones.
And perhaps.
I like that.
That's interesting. Where does that come from?
That is something I thought of years ago, and I don't know if I'm sure I heard it somewhere. I know I didn't make it up, but
I like that. The 3 kinds of death.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Thank you. Yes.
One of the things that I do, it's a hobby of mine, is I clean off grave sites. And whenever I walk through the cemetery, I'm always reading those names off.
Actually, we do the same.
Clean them up.
We clean them up. If any grass is over them,
we leave with more than we can come in with.
Yeah, we clean the garbage and stuff.
Because we travel a lot for what we do, and we always end up at the cemeteries.
Right. I agree, and it's something to the atmosphere too. I'm sure that maybe plays a role. I don't know. I'm curious about that. I'm curious about why that would be a place to hang out.
Yeah.
If I were to see.
Think about it too. A lot of your cemeteries are places that people have congregated for picnics.
Yes.
Stuff like that. I mean, back in even up to the 30s and 40s, it was really popular to go to cemeteries and hang out. Even now, a lot of the cemeteries are places that is it arboretum? Is that the right word? Where they have a lot of different style trees and birds and stuff, and people go and see that.
Right. You mean like an atrium or?
Yeah. I was trying to think.
Audubon. Yeah. A lot of people would go, and they still do, and have like a celebration or a picnic, like you said, with their loved ones, that passed away. So.
Right. In previous times, people would actually do that. They would incorporate the deceased person into their picnic and hang out. Yeah. Which I find fascinating. People don't do that now.
No. Well, I was just last year we went over to Cleveland, Ohio, and there's a beautiful cemetery there called Lakeview Cemetery. And I was driving around, there were picnic tables and stuff still there. So maybe they still do it there. I don't know.
Probably.
They might.
They probably do.
It was bigger in the Victorian age than it is now. Like, what's the word for that?
What's the word?
Deceased.
I have no idea.
Drawing blanks. It's been a long time now. I apologize. Yeah, I was working my ass off today. Anyways, I think people took things differently. And it was more publicly accepted to hang out with the deceased, literally in photographs and such.
Oh, that was terrible.
And it wasn't terrible. I don't know. Terrible.
I have a thing with
it's just kind of unsettling now.
Yeah.
You know, in the Victorian age, they would take photographs. So the last photograph, their family would gather around the deceased person. They would be sitting in a chair, and the whole family would be there.
And a lot of them, you can't even tell which one it is.
It's true. It's so true.
Right. Sometimes you can't, and sometimes you can.
Yeah.
And it gets very disturbing. You can go on Pinterest and look that stuff up.
Oh, yeah. I'm constantly on that thing.
Right. And
if you want to know anything about me, there you go.
Right. Right. What's the word I'm looking for? You know?
I have no idea what you're talking about. What word? Tell me definition and I can give you a word.
I did. I just gave the definition.
I'm sorry. I'm doing it. Sorry.
That's all right. But anyways, well, let me see. We got a few things out here in chat.
Yeah, Marie Young. That makes a lot of sense.
Hello from Missouri.
Missouri. All right.
Right on. Right on.
Ian was talking about the three things that you were talking about death: spiritual, physical, and then what is it?
The last time someone speaks the name.
Speaks the name. I really like that.
Memento mori was what I was looking for.
Yeah. I have that on my
damn June. Something we all know, and I couldn't think of it in the moment.
I'm sorry.
But memento mori. Remember, you will die. Pretty sure that's what that means. And that was kind of a calling card in the 1800s, the late 1800s, early 1900s. People wanted to, live life. Remember, you will die and live your life. Make sense of it. And that's how that all came about.
Everybody was doing seances and all that stuff.
Yeah. The Fox sisters and ectoplasm.
Yeah, that's it. Reminds me of Ghostbusters.
I think there is definitely something to seances. I think there was something to the Fox sisters, but they had to prove it all the time.
Yeah,
and not unlike TV shows in the modern day era. Eventually, the well runs dry, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean,
they don't work on command.
People think that when we do these ghost hunts, something happens every 5 minutes, and being back when the Fox sisters were doing that, they had to entertain, and they just, it's like you set it up and you expect all these people to come. They all show up and they're expecting something to happen. And we know by being paranormal investigators that doesn't happen the way that it does,
Exactly. Exactly. I think we interviewed Dr. Joe Gallenberger, and I remember him talking about that. Now, he was a guy that could manifest psychic things.
Okay.
He can influence physical matter with his mind, and he does, and he's awesome at it. But he said, it's very difficult under the conditions of people watching you. And the analogy he gave was, imagine trying to fall asleep, in a lab. Then imagine trying to fall asleep in front of, say, 1 million people on TV.
Yeah.
Right. How easy is that?
Yeah.
Right. It's not that easy. It's very difficult.
Like the TV shows, I know a lot of people that are on those TV shows. I go to conventions with them. I talk to them, stuff like that. And even, they say it's entertainment. They have to entertain. And a lot of those shows, people get on there and they see a 43-minute show with tons of activity. Those shows are actually recorded over weeks and months. Sometimes they'll record for a month, leave, go somewhere else, come back and record some more shows, and more of it. And they have the continuity people that make sure they're wearing the same shirts, the same haircut, everything, so that it looks like a continuous show. Well, a lot of those shows are recorded over a long period of time. That's how they can get all that activity.
Right. And it's a challenge to even get that activity.
It is.
In that period.
We sit in a dark old room for hours waiting for one bang or one EVP.
Right.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I spent plenty of an evening in an attic of some ridiculous house trying to get something to talk to me. But I get you.
Yeah.
How you've been doing this for quite a while. What is your favorite tool to use on the paranormal? Do you like recorders? If you had like one thing you could use,
Well, I always
what would you
do it
use?
like this. I have my K2 meter, and that's like the baseline. If I see some activity with K2, now there are locations where you can't use them, but I like using the K2. I don't know why, I just do. And when I get some response to that, I'll move up to a recorder or the dowsing rods. I love the dowsing rods. I use those a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Chris makes dowsing rods. They're really nice.
yeah.
So I don't know. I'm sorry. In my opinion,
Oh.
I don't know if I can trust them because I have this thing with energy,
Mhm.
and apparently things that I touch, cell phones,
Yeah.
laptops, they just go. So I'm afraid to seriously. I'm afraid to like. We've tried it, and I'm like, yeah, I can't. I can feel the energy from it.
Right.
Everybody's
Get
different.
that spark feeling in your hand.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Do you get that?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You know, like when I'm looking for grave sites, I've used my dowsing rods a lot looking for grave sites because they're covered up with grass. You can't find them. And a family says, well, we know our relatives are buried there. So I'll take the dowsing rods out. And I've many times have been led right to where their gravesite is. And when we sell dowsing rods at the shows, part of the merch that we sell. And I tell people, when you get that feeling, you'll start feeling tingling in your fingers.
Yes.
It's like an electricity feeling. And a lot of people come to us and said, I got that feeling. I'm like, see, it works.
It's true. It does. But I'm just like awkward with them.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I like using a lot of gear. When I'm doing an investigation, I really don't use that much. I rely on the digital recorders, sometimes a video recorder, but that's mainly just to capture stuff that I'm getting from digital. I love the Estes method.
Oh, we love them.
I love it. I mean, a lot of people don't like it, but I enjoy doing that. I get under there and I can go for an hour and a half, and it blows my mind the results that you get from that.
It does, because we had Connor J. Randall on, and him and Carl Pfeiffer are the ones who came up with that. And it's insane. And we started using it a couple of years ago. And you're right. It's really weird.
Yeah.
That you actually can get all that. And somebody's in one room. You're
It's another level of mind, right? So you're in your head.
Yes.
And that's cool. I meditate. And
so do I.
I'm into that stuff.
He's really good though. He does like what is it, binaural beats, and
I'm getting into the gateway.
The gateway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hemisync gateway.
Hemisync.
Which promotes out of body experiences, which I'm familiar with.
Yes.
I can't do that on demand as much as I would like. So I'm trying to get it to a point where I can do it.
You will.
Yeah. Well,
like anything takes practice.
Takes practice.
Move a little bit, then come back in. Move a little higher, then come back in.
Right. Do you do that as well?
No. But I've talked to many people that have, and I understand it. Like our guest that we have on our show this week, I didn't even know it. He's a psychic medium, and he started telling me that he does what's it called? Remote viewing.
Oh yeah, yes, we did that as well.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that he goes out of body when he remote views. I'm like, tell me more.
It's all related.
And it's a natural sense that we have, but we're not in touch with it too well. In fact, I think our ability growing up, it shunts it just by the pure fact that we're human. It's almost too much to take in.
Yeah,
I guess would be a way to put it
for us. The meat bags, yeah,
the meat bags or vessel. If you're having a good week, it's a vessel. If it's a bad week, it might be a meat bag. I think that's what it is. Our bodies naturally censor out a lot of it. If we could take in everything that was around us and occurring, and everybody's thoughts, when I say that, I mean like everything that is literally going on around us, I think it would be too much to handle. So the body has a sort of a filter.
Yeah.
And we're kind of trained to use that filter, and unfiltering that information is a little bit difficult.
You open yourself up to communication with the spirit.
I'm trying, and it's
yes,
obviously is more of a challenge in that than,
like I say, I can't.
I'm gonna just open up to it.
Yeah, I can't do it yet. So
right, but it's something you might want to explore, because I think it is directly related to paranormal experience, and I think they on the other side are well aware of that faculty, and they do try to communicate through those means.
Yeah.
Okay.
It blew my mind when he was telling me that when he does remote viewing, he's actually remote views to places, and the people that are at those places end up seeing like a shadow figure of him. Oh. He's moved the curtains before, stuff like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that was blowing my mind when he was saying that. I'm like, tell me more. I mean, I'm absorbing all this. Obviously I can't do it, but I'm just so interested in that kind of stuff.
Well, it's not obvious. I mean, you can definitely pursue that. I can point you in some good directions if you're interested. For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a good take on a paranormal. On our show, we do a lot of like parapsychology and psychics and things of that nature, because I think it is all kind of the same bag. It's all related, and it's just a matter of us understanding what's going on to make that communication.
Yeah.
Which in most simplistic terms is necromancy.
Yeah.
Talking to the dead, asking somebody who's dead to talking to a recorder
or a phone app or something. But even if you use the phone app, they can. I know a lot of people. Well, we know a lot of people.
Yeah, they can work. Dowsing rods work, as we mentioned,
right?
And
water witching.
Anything can work.
I don't know what's going on in chat, but everybody's telling us
there's a whole bunch of comments. There.
Yeah, we're out of focus since they see.
Do you use a witch rod? That's the dowsing.
So I'm like, do you want us to put on like the cat ball? What do you want us to do?
Right. We've had activity actually here in our studio.
Right. Yeah. Telling us that we are now.
Good evening, my friend, says Robert Riggy, who will be on Saturday night.
Awesome.
On Bigfoot and the Bunny.
Hello, Robert.
Is an awesome person to talk to. I would reach out to him. He interviewed Ted Bundy in his last days.
Oh.
And he is a psychic medium, and he has some very interesting stuff to talk about. Where do you see you guys going? What's next for 222 Paranormal?
We're getting our convention season going. We travel to a lot of conventions, and right now we have Michigan Paracon.
Nice.
And I can never say this word, Pi Sericon or something like that. The Ohio State Reformatory has a convention, and that's the two that we have right now, and we're booking a bunch of other ones. We might do Michigan UFO Contact. We want to head out to Illinois and do some shows out there. So our schedule's starting to fill up.
Excellent.
That sounds interesting.
Feel good, like bouncing back from 2020 where nobody was doing anything.
2021.
Yeah, we averaged probably 2 to 3 shows a month, conventions a month. So we travel a lot.
Wow.
And then what was it, 2020 or whatever happened, it was like done. None.
Wow. Robert says, let me know when you come by Illinois, where I live.
All right. Yeah, we're looking at Alton, Illinois. I believe that's how you'd say the name.
Excellent.
It's really cool.
Excellent. So do you follow a lot of the tech? Do you like a lot of the more intricate paranormal equipment out there?
Different? Not really. Like I say, when I do an investigation, I stay pretty basic. I mean, I enjoy the tech, but I don't use a lot of it. Basically, like I said, dowsing rods, my K2 meter, the digital recorder, stuff like that is basically what I do, because I feel that although you say, well, it didn't happen unless you have it on tape. I think the experience is more important. Yeah, alternate Illinois. That's where we want to head out to. But I believe the self experience is more important than really sharing it with people. You know, I mean, it's nice to share stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with you.
Mhm.
You have to pay attention to the surroundings. You can get really lost in the toys.
Yeah.
You know, our friend Chris Balzano, he calls it tripping on legends and
Yeah.
legend tripping.
Yeah.
You know, he's all about the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got far more experience than we do out there in the field. And this guy is just like, you know, just take it in.
Yeah.
And I think he's right. You know, you can get lost in all that stuff, worrying about whether this is set right and that's set right.
And you can
miss the real
get false
event.
readings.
Exactly.
Very easy to get false readings.
Yes, especially with the EMF meter. Yeah.
Yeah, and something happens and, you know, you're standing there looking at a meter.
It's true. So that's why we're like you. We just like the recorders and things.
I try to keep it simple. We do. Yeah, we definitely try to keep it simple. We have a few toys, but
we're gonna get another toy soon.
I think a lot of the EMF meters and stuff like that is really good to use when you do your baselines and you do your environmentals before you actually do your investigation.
We agree.
Yeah, for sure. See if that's bleeding out, that's creating an issue. Have you found people that you know are affected by EMF, or families, or different things?
Well, I know I am. When I go, somebody was using those EMF pumps, and I tell you what, you get next to an EMF pump, and I felt so weird. But there are people out there that are affected by it that actually make lights flicker in that when they walk past them.
It's my mom.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, when you go by the EMF pump, do you feel like a really weird low? I want to say like vibration, but it's not. But I don't know what it is.
It's just, to me, it's just a funky feeling of, you know, like swimming.
Low. Yes.
Like a swimming feeling.
Yes.
Just not right, you know?
No, I understand. I'm right with you.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things I try to use is, you know, those plasma balls that you touch and the little, like the lightning touches your fingers and stuff.
Yes.
Right.
I had one that was probably the size of my orb here. And I was within 5 feet of this thing, and my K2 meter was going nuts. So things that like that, they pump out a lot of EMF into the air, and you get a lot of false readings. I just found out one of the research that I'm doing right now is about old houses. Think about the old houses with the old drywall.
I have one.
Yeah. So you have the metal or the wood slats, and then they put the mud over them. Think about what that mud is made of. It's made of rock, could be granite, could, you know, and rock holds vibration. Rock holds electricity. Sometimes when they put those on the wall, they actually use chicken wire to hold the plaster also. And that is very conductive electricity. Plus you have old wiring in the walls.
That's my problem.
Yeah. So lots of times your K2 meters and that won't work in some houses.
The K2 meter, when you put it in my house at one certain spot in my living room, and he gets worried about it, it goes up to 12. I don't know if anybody is out there.
There's a lot of EMF.
Really bad.
There's ungrounded wiring in there. And I bitched about it, but you know.
I can't do anything about it.
So there you go.
One of the places, like I mentioned earlier in the show, the Bone House, I would stand on the porch. Now, this house has no electricity, no running water, anything, because it's basically gutted right now. There's like completely gutted, no walls, anything.
Oh.
You can hold the K2 meter on the porch, put it in the door, and it goes to red. Bring it out, and it goes back down to nothing. So some houses have so much EMF in them. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I wonder about the effects of that. You know,
I told him it's like a portal. That's because my house
that's
is like
the
a
nice
portal.
side.
The nice side.
The negative side is that, you know, might cause
my brain
illness.
is gonna oh, it's already gone. I'm squirreled.
Apparently it's a debatable topic, but I don't think it's good.
No. Thanks.
I don't feel it's the best thing. Yeah, no, that's great. So, what do you have coming up in store for 222 Paranormal?
We're just chugging along with our different shows. This week I've called them mega shows. This week we have Adam of Black Swamp Medium on. He's the one that does the remote viewing and stuff like that. So if you get a chance, listen.
Yeah, listen to that. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
He's an interesting
He's
guy.
so cool.
Yeah, I like the remote viewing aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a paranormal researcher or investigator, the idea of remote viewing is neat.
Mm-hmm.
To say go into a location that you don't know, remote view it ahead of time and look for hot spots, look for something that maybe is a trigger to why it is proclaimed haunted.
Yeah. Next week we have Heather Arnold, one of my friends. I call her the blonde Josh Gates. She is
I love Josh Gates.
Yeah. She talks about the giants of Aruba. She lived in Aruba, and she's a dual citizen of the United States and Aruba. And she talks about the giants of Aruba and different giants in legend and lore. And she's actually seen, touched different giant bones from over there.
Come on.
So she talks a lot about that. She travels all over the world looking for stuff like that.
That's going to be a great show. Did she? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So I'm calling them mega shows because they're 1.5 hours long. Because our shows are usually 30 to 50 minutes long.
That's not too bad.
No, that's great.
No,
that's great. And you got like 257, did you say?
287 as of today.
87
Good Lord.
episodes. That's fantastic. I love that. I love that. You guys have been out there doing it a long time.
Yeah.
And you're in these houses, you're in these locations, you're doing it. You're getting the data.
Yeah.
Now, are you a data evidence guy?
I think so. Yeah, I collect a lot of data on stuff. I consider myself more of a.
We don't like.
Are you
evidence.
a data or evidence guy?
What do you mean?
Do you call it data or do you call it evidence?
Oh, I never thought about it. I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. We don't call it evidence.
We go with data
evidence.
now.
We go with data.
We used to go with evidence, and then somebody corrected us a long time ago.
Oh,
yeah, I never thought of it that way. I don't know.
And I said, "Yep, you're right. I think of it as data now.
Mm-hmm.
We go with data."
But,
it's hard to like prove anything out, right? When you say evidence, it's like more of a proof.
Think of it this way:
proof in the paranormal is rare.
We call them ghosts and that, but we really don't know what they are. And the more we learn, the less we know.
Yeah, right.
Just like any art.
We can't go in and scientifically prove that ghosts exist, or else we'd be doing it every day.
That's true, but what about that court case you were talking about?
That's what I mean. Yeah, and personal experiences. I can say I've got these EVPs, but we can't, scientifically prove it. I guess I don't know.
Right.
That's what we're all trying to do here.
And we won't know till we pass away, and then bug others, try to get them to talk to us.
I know. I totally agree with you. I know it's real. She knows it's real.
Oh, I know it's
real.
real.
Know it's real.
Yes.
But I'll still go with data because of the apophenia that happens and different things.
Pareidolia, which you wrote a book on.
I wrote a book on pareidolia.
Did you?
Yes,
I did. I'm
gonna have to look that up.
With Larissa Vasquez.
I'll send you a copy if you like.
Write that down.
Thank you.
But apophenia is such a funny thing. Like if you tell somebody, all right, this soundbite sounds like this, and it's these words, and you give them a sentence, and they will believe it, and that's what they will hear, although it could be saying something completely different. It happens. It happens all the time.
What was the thing? Yanni and
Laurel.
And Laurel,
right.
yes.
Right. That was a good example some years ago. The Yanni Laurel debate.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
No, you didn't hear about that?
No.
So that's great.
It was something. It was out there. It was in social media, and it was a matter of the way your ears are tuned, because your ears are tuned, and like the female ear is different than the male ear, and your ears are tuned differently depending on how old you are. You may hear the word Yanni, or you may hear the word Laurel. And people would get into big debates about it. it was a real thing.
And I heard one and you heard the other.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
I heard Yanni and you kept hearing Laurel.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. It was on like Good Morning America and like ridiculous things. Yeah.
And that's why, like, when I play back EVPs, I don't like to tell people what I think it is. I let them hear it first.
Mm-hmm. We agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got to just put the stuff out there and kind of put like, I think it says.
Yeah.
If we don't agree on a word, we don't
we
put
don't
it out
even,
there.
Like, put it out
Mm-hmm.
at all.
Mm-hmm. Or a sentence.
You know.
We have a lot of
And I've got some stuff that if I
sentences
that are just like that Yanni Laurel thing. If I tell you it says one thing, that's what you'll most likely hear.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, somebody else may hear something different, even demonic, which is kind of funny.
It's so funny.
Yeah, it was weird. I heard puppies and the other person's like, I hear demons. Yeah.
Yeah, we get that.
Yeah.
Demon puppies.
You know what the clip is? I put it up on a SoundCloud. It says like Frank Michael Christopher.
Yeah.
And if I tell you it's not that, or if I tell you it's Bring Light Lucifer.
Yes, and it sounds just like Bring Light Lucifer, but then when he says it, it's,
but then I go, oh no, it's Frank Michael Christopher.
There you go.
But it was stuff that came across the spirit box. So what does that mean? I don't know.
It's
somebody's
our ears.
reading names.
Yeah.
From the other side.
So you said you're empathic.
No,
but you're not.
No, I'm not.
You are, but you're not. That's kind of how you said.
I'm about as empathic as a rock.
Well, that's what you said, but then you said you started feeling, so that's kind of empathic.
Yeah, it's like when you go into a room and you can tell there's a fight.
Yes.
You know.
So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you get when you go to some of the cemeteries? Do you get sadness at all?
Sometimes, yeah.
So you're empathic. No, stop that.
But I don't like. I don't.
You're a man. That's why. That's a guy thing.
He's a human.
It's a guy thing.
Human.
I'm telling you.
And
we're men. We don't listen.
Exactly.
Right? You don't listen, but nobody wants to see like dead children in the cemetery.
No, but I was just wondering how, if you feel as well.
Sometimes, yeah. So I don't know if I am or not. I guess I am in a little way.
I like we don't like labels, but there's clairaudient, clairsentient, things like that, and you seem to be clairsentient when you feel.
Yeah.
And are you clairaudient? Can you hear?
I do hear spirit every once in a while, but like when we're doing investigations and I've heard voices. We're down at a cemetery in Pennsylvania called the Black Cross, and we could hear. I've heard babies crying.
Oh, Lord.
I've heard people talking, and that was the only time I've ever been scared doing this stuff.
Really?
We're like, where's the most scariest place you've been? And I'm like, I've been in a lot of places. I've been in prisons. I've been in insane asylums. I've been in places like that. But the Black Cross, it's a small cemetery, about, I'd say maybe 50 by 100. And what it is back when the yellow fever epidemic came through Pennsylvania, there were some immigrants that passed away, and the Catholic Church wouldn't allow them to be buried in their cemetery.
That's terrible.
So one of the farmers actually offered a plot of his land, and that became the Black Cross Cemetery. We were there. We were at a convention in Butler, Pennsylvania, and it was close by. So we're like, let's go check it out. And basically all it is now is, imagine taking a 5-gallon bucket, filling it with cement, and flopping it over. That's all that's left of this cemetery.
Oh, it's awful.
But while we were there, I heard babies crying. We heard voices, and there's a tree stump about 3 foot tall, and someone put a red ribbon on it, and I knew it was there. I looked at it, okay, I put my meter on it, and I'm standing there. I turn, and that stump was a guy, and I saw him. He was wearing a red shirt. He was wearing like wool gray pants. He had almost I don't want to say dark complexion, but like maybe someone's from Italy or something like that.
Sure.
Just that quick, he was there. Scared the crap out of me. The only time I've ever been scared, and my sister was videotaping. In the videotape, she says, "I can see you jumping."
Oh my God.
I turned, he was there. Imagine someone jumping out of the woods at you. That's what it seemed like. And the second he was there, and the next second it was the stump again. So,
Now, did she capture anything on that video?
no, all she captured was me jumping.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
that's too
You
bad.
weren't jumping for no reason.
And I tell you, like I said, it's the only time I've ever been scared, and
Yeah.
my adrenaline was pumping.
Sometimes it works that way.
Yeah.
You know, and things can
Yeah.
happen so fast that your eye doesn't even recognize it.
Mhm.
You know, you can have something pop up so fast that your eye to the brain, that communication, it just disregards it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if it's that quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were talking about with the corner of our eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
Earlier.
You know, there really is something to that. And
Yeah, I think so.
that happens sometimes. For whatever reason, I
Mm-hmm.
do think it's harder for them on the other side to communicate through light waves that our retinas can pick up, and the rods and cones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's why.
Than it is with audio. Like we get a lot more
Frequency.
audio data. I don't really even focus on photographs and that kind of thing because it's so rare.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably put more effort into it. We should.
Yeah.
We should.
And like you say, a lot of it's pareidolia.
It's
very
true.
It is, and it seems so debunkable. You can put something out, and you can Photoshop anything now. So
yeah,
that's
they make it look pretty real.
Same thing with the
Who's
UFO.
going to take it seriously? You know what I mean?
Because we're into that as well.
But I have seen some really good apparition photographs. From people I trust.
Yes.
That means something to me. But if it's just in my feed, I disregard it.
Yeah,
I don't even look at it, honestly.
You got to put a big red circle around it too.
Oh my God, the red circle. Don't get me started.
If it needs a red circle, then maybe you shouldn't have put that out.
I can't do that.
Maybe you should have just left that in the, your camera.
Where's Debbie? She always says, "Oh God, get her started." Don't get me started. You don't even want to know.
No, this has been fun. This has been a really good
great time with you. Thank you so much.
Where can people find you, and what's the best place to find 222 Paranormal?
Easiest thing, 222paranormal.com. Everything's there. Plus our Facebook page, obviously, 222 Paranormal on Facebook. You can also find me at the Year of Prophet on Facebook. That's a new podcast I'm coming up with here. It's not long yet. The Year of Prophet. It's improving your life, body, mind, and wallet.
Nice.
So that's my aspect of it. But easiest way, 222paranormal.com.
Awesome.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
It was a blast meeting you guys.
Oh my God,
you too. You too.
fun.
And I love your podcast. I've listened to some of them. I think it's great. I think we have the same idea. We
I was
like
just going to
metal.
say that.
We like the power metal.
Yes.
And I like how your podcasts begin and ours do as
We
well.
love the way you think as well.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
the big thing.
Absolutely. When we're down your way,
More people.
we will definitely try to hook up with you and get out and see some of the sites. And if you're out,
and I want to come up your guys' way. That's one of my goals, is to make it up there. So when I do, I'll look you up.
Thank you. Yes, please hit
Right
us
on.
up.
Right on. And I want to thank you and thank everybody in our audience, Ken, Robert, everybody, Ken Allen, Wizard's Table,
Debbie Wallace
Wizard's
Hagen.
Table.
Oh, the Wizard's Table. We have to do that.
Yeah, Debbie Wallace Hagen.
Anne-Marie Young.
Anne-Marie Young
is one of my besties.
You guys great. We wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for you. So thank you so much. And thank you. Thank you again, Joe.
Thank you.
We appreciate you so much.
And this has been fun.
All right. Goodbye.
Thank you.